Joining us on the line now, we've got Dan Payne. Now, Dan, we have interviewed before. He's a rugby league writer, aficionado, collector. Anything you want to know about rugby league? Yes. Anything you want to know about rugby league, you talk to Dan. Now, Dan, today we're with Nigel and Les. We're at Alan Gillette Oval at Maxwell, and the sun has just come out. So
yeah.
It's actually quite a lovely day.
Yeah, well, that's good. We're just heading out of winter, I think. It's had a few sunny days here in Sydney as well.
Well, it's been glorious up here the past week. You would never think it was winter.
Yeah.
Never.
We were worried about getting sunburned an hour ago.
Yeah, I've got jackets on.
Make sure you put a bit of sunscreen on.
Well, we've got jackets on now.
Jackets on now.
Got up.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on the show. Really appreciate it.
So I believe you've published a new book, and that's book 3 of Rugby League's Heroes of Yesterday.
Yeah, I have. Just published it a few months ago. It runs in a series, so I've got books 1, 2 and 3 now. 30, legends of the past, rugby league players, and who talk about their journey and open up about a lot of things that we otherwise wouldn't know. You see the game, but you don't really know what that person's really like or what they've been through. So that's the sort of angle I try to get.
So from the new book, what are your favourite interviews?
Oh, it's hard to pick a favourite. I mean, some people might get upset, but there's some absolute, there's some really, probably some of my favourites would be like Olsen Filipano, because he passed away, and that was a really terrific interview, and he was really prepared, and one of the things he told me was about where all the competition came between him and Wally Lewis, and Wally Lewis actually brushed him after a test match, and he just said he made a sworn enemy that day. So,
oh wow,
so that was it.
Yeah, I don't think Wally Lewis ever played over the top of him in any game he played against him.
Yeah, and also with that, Olsen's daughter Alicia, she wrote a really nice dedication. And that we've put that in there, and another person, Bill Ashurst, a great English player. So. Yeah, he played for Penrith, and he also passed away shortly after I interviewed him, which is very unfortunate. And his daughter, Leanne, also wrote a tribute for her father. So, that, it's really heartwarming and really nice to get that sort of input. And it's like capturing their story. Now it's in print forever.
And that must be a wonderful legacy for their children as well, and their grandchildren too,
Yeah, it is, because, there's certain things as like a grandparent or a parent that you don't tell your kids, but you might tell an author or tell your story, and then they're like, oh, I didn't realise this happened, or he felt like that, because, there's a lot of insightful stories with what these guys tell me.
Now, how long did it take you to actually compile all these interviews for the book?
Probably about 18 months to do the interviews. So I do all the interviews first, and then sort of get to that point, and then I listen to the recording again and type them up. So that's actually the hardest part, is to typing the interviews up. So probably 2.5 years to do a book.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a big effort.
Yeah.
That was really nice. Peter Volandis also wrote the foreword, and probably a favourite of many people, Gary Jack. He wrote the afterwards. So he was, and he had a cardiac arrest recently. And if it wasn't for someone doing CPR on him, he wouldn't be here now. So
that was his karate friends.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, we speak to Gary regularly actually on the show, and
he's got time for everyone.
Absolutely,
absolute champion.
Is there anyone that you interviewed that you were surprised by? Like you sort of had a preconceived idea, and when you spoke to them, that got blown out of the water and it was completely different?
Well, I think everyone is different to how I first thought they might be, because, you just see someone on TV or watch them play football, and then when you meet them, they're completely different people. So basically, in answer to that question, I think everyone's a bit different, but I don't know about being surprised. I think everyone's unique. Like, everyone's got a good story to tell, and I'm very humbled to be able to pass on the stories. Like, probably one would be Shane Shackleton.
Oh, yeah.
And he did the Fui Fui Moi Moi, and he told me after watching him on TV, I thought he was very natural and calm, but he was very awkward. He was a very awkward kid, and he hated to have another red-haired kid in his footy team. Because it was a bit awkward. It's like, I'm meant to be the redhead. Why are you here? So, yeah. Lord Ted Goodwin was another fantastic one, and one of the things, he scored that famous try in a grand final and broke his eye socket.
Yes.
So he talks about that, but he also talks about being a Maori and the kids or the adults picking on him back then. Like, there was a fair bit of racism back in those days.
Yes, there was.
Oh, Greg Hartley would be my favourite.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, he just had his 80th birthday at Hartley's Hideout. That's what he calls his place. But
On the Hawkes River, yeah.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't realise he actually played. He played for country, and he played for Newtown Reserve Grade, and he had a very nasty injury where he was in hospital for quite a long time. And he had a ruptured spleen and pancreas and broken ribs. Wow. And and there was a priest visiting him and said, "You're never going to play football again," and gave him the rules, what do you call it, the rule law book or whatever, and he started learning that, and that's how he became a referee.
Wow.
Oh. Well, when you spoke to him, did he sort of talk about the differences between the game when he was refereeing to what it is now? You know, like having the bunker and people jabbering in your ear and all that? Yeah,
I don't think he would fit in today's.
No.
Yeah, because back then referees, they made a decision.
That's right.
They backed up their decisions, whether it was right or wrong, you move on with the game. And he cops a lot from Parramatta fans and things, but the way he told me was, "You referee fee." He goes, "What's in it for me to try to swing a game?"
Yeah.
And he was actually a Canterbury supporter. Like, everyone thought he was Manly, but
7 tackles might have said that.
Well, that's. But I also, if you think about it, how many times would there have been 7 tackles or 5 tackles back in those days? It was only that one was found out by some lady up in Queensland, and she rang the TV, I think, and that's how they found out that it was 7 tackles.
He enjoyed refereeing too. He's one of the few referees that I can remember actually smiled and had a laugh occasionally.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of them get a bit too serious these days with the television.
He was a good broadcaster too, wasn't he? TGB for many years with
But can you imagine
Peter Peters,
Can you imagine Greg Hartley with the way that the players go on today about refereeing the game and a captain's challenge and all? Can you imagine?
You'd never see
Greg Hartley, someone questioning his decision.
Could you imagine how many march from 10 metres there would be a game?
Yeah.
For back chat?
They'd be each finishing with 10 or less men, I reckon.
9 aside.
Well, that's the thing. I think there's a lot of disrespect to referees these days.
Absolutely.
And it's really hard for them to make a decision. And also social media probably pays a bit of that as well. Like, I don't know if you'd want to be a referee these days.
No, well, we're finding it difficult up here for referees. We didn't have enough referees to do the whole round on one day.
Yeah.
So at least one game's had to be played on a Saturday or a Friday night. Yeah. Because it's just not enough to go around.
Can I also just ask you as well, there's a lot of talk about concussions now and the effect it's, on older players. We saw during the week Wally Lewis come out and said that he now suffers from CTE. When you were talking to the people for your book, did you notice any signs of maybe speech slowing down or not as sharp as what perhaps they were? I don't want you to name anybody, but I just wonder if it's something you observed.
Probably not really. I actually met the doctor who's leading that study, and so I don't know if it's. I think definitely there's contact sport as well, but there's also lifestyle where people are, drinking was a big part of the game back then as well. So, and I don't know much about that to even comment, I don't think.
It's just, we actually interviewed a guy from the Sydney Concussion Centre and spoke to him about not to pull out any particular player or anything like that, But just to explain to us about the effects of, getting hit in the head a number of times.
Yeah.
The NRL have come out and said a mandatory 11 days. But I want to, what is an expert's opinion? Is that enough, not enough, and all that? And he was really generous with his time. But the thing is, I really want to talk to him again, but this time specifically about boxing.
Yeah, well, you get a lot more hits in the head with boxing, I think.
Well, that's right. And you look at guys like Joe Frazier and George Foreman and
Muhammad Ali.
Well, Muhammad was more Parkinson's.
Yeah, Parkinson's, yeah.
I'm not saying... Yeah. And you look at him and his face was still unscarred, I think he was too quick to get whacked in the head. But anyway, that's a chat for a different day.
But there is a story very similar in one of my books. It's Greg Cook came out, and it was the first time he spoke about the incident with Bob Cooper, where Bob Cooper pretty much laid out 3 Illawarra Steelers guys. Greg Cook was one of them. He fractured eye socket, I think, and Lee Pomfret, they actually had to put a wire frame around and pull his face out because it was completely crushed, And Bob Cooper passed away recently too, actually, big magpie. But, it was definitely a gladiator sport. It's a bit different now. It's the hits are harder now, but I think back then they had that... If you ran in for a fight like they do these days, they'd get sorted out pretty quick, I think. You didn't have that many running in. Yeah,
that's definitely true. And I think sometimes that's why players get away with a few cheeky little things in the game, because the players can't retaliate with a punch.
100%, yeah. That's probably the one bad thing about not having the biff, because everyone runs in and they just grab each other's jersey. I think it's a pretty bad look.
Yeah, it looks horrible, doesn't it, when it happens?
Yeah.
Can I also ask you as well about the women's game? Do you watch games? You watch rugby league and everything like that? We've said a number of times on this show the quality of the women's game has improved out of sight over the last 4 or 5 years. And it's a pleasure to watch it. Sometimes you're watching the NRL and you're just groaning, thinking, "Oh no,"
Yeah, well, I've watched some women's games, and like interstate ones as well. And there's definitely free flowing and really fast football, and sort of like how the NRL was maybe 20 years ago.
Yes,
which it might have even been a better game then.
Probably late 90s. It reminds me of late 90s NRL.
Yeah, really fast players and. And they don't seem to hold down on the tackle as much as the NRL and the wrestling.
Thank you. That is one of the biggest bugbears that I have, is this holding down after the tackle and just a little bit of niggle. That causes.
It annoys me is that they allow... Because they think the tackle's a bit more dominant, they'll allow you a bit longer. It should just be, say, referee should count to 3 in his head and they've got to get off. If you don't get off by against the 4, then it's a penalty. If they did that from the start of the season, it'd fix it.
Well, they call held so late. And I don't know. I don't know why it takes so long to call held. That's one of my bugbears.
Well, actually, the state of the NRL at the moment is it's not an attractive game. We are... we call Group 2 football, just of a Sunday afternoon, and it's a joy to watch.
Yeah.
It's just so different. The professionalism of the NRL, everybody's looking for a quick way in or a way to hold up the game or do something, to get an advantage.
Yeah. I think there's
I was just going to ask you about scrums, because I think that's something that why are we having them? It's who puts the ball in wins. There's no specialist hooker used to be a specialist position. Props used to be special positions. And your lock used to be probably the best tackler in the team.
Now it's the shortest half in the teams now, the dummy half. Yeah. He had to bend over as far to pick the ball up and pass it, so he doesn't... So that's ends up being your hooker now.
Now, we talked to Peter Valens, that'd be about 3 years ago, and he agreed with us about the scrums. We were sort of talking about it then. He agreed.
Okay.
But nothing's happened.
No.
Nothing's happened, no.
No one listens to us.
Well,
we come up with...
it's a lot of people are thinking it because, you know, what do people miss about people who like rugby league, but they all miss a lot of things from the good old days, you know, like the scrum's one of them. And or like, you know, when a try was scored and they'll put the shaft music on straight away rather than, you know, so the excitement's there straight away. There's no looking at it 5 times trying to find a mistake. Or,
They look for a reason not to award it. They don't look for a reason to award it.
Well, there was one last night in a game I was watching where it was awarded no try on the field and sent upstairs. And, and I'd say 90% chance the ball touched the ground, but because the camera didn't show it, the angle was wrong, they couldn't give it. Where really, if it looks like he would have got it down, then it should just be a try.
Yeah, they're overcomplicating it, I think.
I've got a really scary question, and
Okay.
Have you ever interviewed Gus Gould?
No, well, I try to stay away from people who are really busy. People in the media these days, I think they're just really busy people. So
well, he's very busy poking his nose into other people's
no, I haven't had the pleasure. I'm sure he's got a great story, but no, I haven't been there.
Oh, he'll tell you about it, I'm sure.
If he wants, he'll only tell you the story that you want to hear.
Yeah.
He won't tell you the real story, though.
And he was never in a fight when he played.
He was. I saw footage of him playing for Newtown in a fight in about 1981.
Yeah. He was in a couple when he played for Canterbury.
Probably forget.
Yeah, it's a very selective thing, your memory, isn't it?
Yeah. Can be, yes.
Well, see, there's going to be another thing about the quality of the calls of the games now. You know, Channel 9 has competition, obviously, with Foxtel and that. Not every great player is a great commentator.
Well, I agree with that.
That's been shown,
I agree with that, but I pretty much just watch Fox, KO.
Same.
Yeah, and like I've done the show with Andrew Voss, so of course you could say I'm biased, but I'd say he's the best caller.
I think sometimes he gets a bit carried away with other stuff or jokes. Maybe Warren Smith, I think, is probably the best caller. Myself.
Yeah, it's a good debate though. Like I often put that question in my Facebook group and just see what people think. But yeah, Warren Smith's definitely up there as well.
Maybe Vossi's the most entertaining and Warren Smith's the most accurate. There you go.
Well, yeah, and like people loved. I liked Ray Warren and
yes, Rabbits is probably the best in the modern era.
But my all-time favourite, which might not be popular with modern-aged people, is Rex Mossop. I love some of his comments, and he's a bit chauvinistic for today's audience, but
very.
He was a bit one-eyed for Manly as well.
He wouldn't have got a job today. He would have lasted one call today and got taken off the air, I think.
Well, could you imagine, like you said about the things that you don't like about the game today, can you imagine him calling a game, they brought him back from the dead and called a game? Like
I think he'd get up and walk out.
I think you're right. I think he would.
Yeah. Forwards are not forwards anymore.
Well, you never had any problem not knowing what Rex's opinion was when he called.
True.
But that's the thing I think I love about the game before, like in the 80s, 70s, the characters of the game. So I think that's another thing that's lacking. Like even the callers and like your Rex Mossops or the characters of the game, you know, that's what you don't really have. Like a big Bruiser Clark, you know, or Dallas Donnelly and
even stories like David Gillespie was working on a Garbo truck in grand final week and got his finger caught in the back of the truck and they had to sew it back up, and he went out and played the grand final with it taped up to the next one. They won the grand final.
He didn't get the nickname Cement for no reason.
But just things like you can't hear that somebody's done something at work. Oh, they missed a game. So-and-so's out this week because he injured his ankle at work or something. You don't hear that anymore because there's no work. It's all training.
Yeah, they all had jobs, didn't they? Like Oscar Filipano was another garbage truck, and he did it up until he went to hospital when he died. So his whole life they all had jobs, yeah.
Yeah.
More working class back then, I suppose, than what it is now, you'd have to say, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the commentary that we used to love was on Channel 2 on a Saturday afternoon.
Oh, yeah,
And it was
Saturday, Warren Boland and...
No, well,
and that.
before him was Reg Gasnier and a man called, I want to say Clark, but I'm not sure.
That's past my age bracket, I think, Donna.
Yeah.
I remember it, Donna.
And who was the other fellow who's now, he got sacked from there and ended up somewhere else. Can't think of his name now.
But no, that's Saturday
it's
afternoon.
It's on 2GB, I think now. I think Dave Murrow with Warren Boland. And sometimes Artie would be in the box with him as well.
Yeah.
He spilled his lemonade one day at Shark Park.
Look, you've taken me back there. I'm in the audience now. We're watching it on TV. I used to love it.
Yeah.
David Morrow's my age, so played golf with him.
He's that old?
Yeah.
What, in the early 30s?
You're going to go a long
this
way.
Man.
You'll go a long way.
Yeah. His father was a solicitor at Uralla.
Oh, there you go. Not a very big
But just on Reg
Uralla.
Gasnier, though, if he had that knee injury nowadays that he had that ended his career...
They'd have fixed it.
Yeah. 6 weeks later, he would have been back on.
Yeah.
And you don't see shoulder pads anymore. Remember the shoulder?
Well, thank goodness for that.
Yeah.
Some players will wear tape pads to certain parts of their bodies, mainly the sternum area. They don't wear a whole padding suit. Like, we still sell them in the shop. And the kids buy them. But very rarely do you sell one to anybody over the age of about 16.
So you didn't like Andrew Eddinghausen in a set of shoulder pads? Without the jersey
He
on?
looks a lot better without a shoulder.
Him and Mark McGaw with a massive set of shoulder pads with them Sharks jerseys on. They were pretty sweet back in the day, weren't they?
Yeah.
They could play those too.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
You know, the other sad passing that has been, this year, was Tina Turner. I don't know if she knew what effect she had on this country and rugby league with her efforts. That was
one of the best commercial things, wasn't it?
Promotion things, yeah.
That was John Quayle, wasn't it? Organised that.
It was Quayle,
It's funny that now you hear that song on the radio and you don't think about Tina Turner, you think about rugby
league all the time.
Right.
Yeah, I played a lot in my show.
Yeah.
It's lifting and get you up and ready to go.
Well, I don't even know what is the theme now. Like
I got no idea.
I
don't think I've heard one.
I couldn't tell you.
It's probably Wake Up Jeff.
That's for the bunker, isn't it?
Because there used to be that Manly and Para one in the early 80s. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Here we go again, Manly and Para.
That was a Tilly's ad,
That was a good one, Actually, I heard that earlier this year. Are they using it again?
They feel like a Tui's or two they're using again, but I don't know if they're using the same thing. But quite often on commercial radio, you hear that, I feel like a Tui's or two again.
Which is,
What's old is new again, basically.
Yeah.
No, Tina Turner, that campaign was the best one.
Oh, that was fantastic.
Yeah. And, I hope she did come to realise what effect that had.
Well, I think, she would have. And those advertisement campaigns where she was running on the beach with...
Yeah.
Andrew Eddinghausen, yes.
Yeah, a few guys in the Speedos.
Without a shirt on. Yeah. That's
maybe
it burnt
Speedos
into
are
my
coming back,
brain,
are they?
that picture.
They could be. Still, actually, Speedos, I'd say most males over about 55 still wear Speedos, where the younger ones wear the
board
jam, as they call them, which is still tight, but they go down to your knees, like a pair of skins sort of thing. So they're still in. They're still in, the old Speedos. I don't mind a pair of Speedos. The kids hate me wearing them when we go away on holidays.
They won't associate with you.
No, just embarrassing. It's all right. That's what you do as a parent, embarrass your kids.
Oh, that's part of the role.
Yeah.
So is there going to be a book 4?
We're working on it. I'm working on making a decision on that. It's the printing costs went up a fair bit, and the blame was COVID, which I can't work that out. But I love doing it. But I felt like it took so much out of me doing the interviews and running around doing the book and talking to editor and typesetter and getting it printed. It's a big job, as well as I work full time as well. So, but I'd love to do it. I've actually started talking to a couple of people, so there might start the interviews and then never know.
Have you thought about maybe making digital instead of paper if the printing costs get too high?
Oh, I don't. Well, the way my book started, I did have them digital on my website, and then then I just thought some of the interviews started to become too good, I thought, for that. So that's why I thought, well, I'll start to put them into a book. Robbie Davis' interview, that was the turning point. It was like, gee, this is a really good interview. And I don't know if you've ever met him or talked to him, but he's such a genuine guy, and he told me some things that I wasn't prepared for. And, you know, there's a fair bit of depression after being an entertaining player, and then all of a sudden, from 100,000 people screaming in a stadium to you're just an average Joe Blow again. So I think a lot of the players go through that sort of transition.
Yeah, they would too. They wouldn't start expecting they're going to be in front of 100,000 every time they play, but by the time they end their careers, the superstars are out there on display all the time, and then all of a sudden it feels like you're not wanted and you're not needed because you're retired. Yeah, it'd be pretty hard on your mental state, I think. Yeah,
and a big thanks to Robbie for that interview, because that's what sort of set me off with the book. So, and I thought, well, you know, there are stories there, and I had to learn how to become a better person at interviewing people, you know, so that was a learning step for me to be able to get a better interview.
So how can people get hold of your book? Just on your website?
Yeah, I was thinking we could do a promotion for your listeners as well if you want to put the code in DAD, D-A-D, DAD, for Father's Day coming up. So my website is dansnrlcollectibles.com.
Yep.
And the books are in there. There's pretty much on the homepage, you just click on there and all 3 books. But book 1, it's sold out. Then I've reprinted a couple of hundred more, and they're nearly sold out. So there's only 1 box of those left, I think. So once they're gone, they're gone. I won't reprint that. But, but it's definitely, I've noticed a couple of people get in the set. Probably, I think for Father's Day. So it's a perfect gift idea for, you know, any kids listening. Get your dad this.
Yeah, what a great idea. Yeah, absolutely great idea.
Or your
Every dad would be stoked in that, wouldn't he?
Or your favourite auntie.
Yeah, well, that's right. Yeah.
Early Christmas present. Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
Yeah,
just because it's Father's Day doesn't mean I won't accept a present.
Well, I'll send you guys up a present as well, so we can talk about that off air. But
yeah,
very good.
Okay, that'd be wonderful.
That'd be excellent.
So dansnrlcollectibles.com.au.
No AU, just .com.
Just .com, and use the discount code DAD, D-A-D.
Yeah.
Lowercase?
All capitals.
Doesn't
All
matter.
capitals.
Yep. Beautiful. So anybody interested in that book, jump on Dan's website, jump in and grab it, and grab your little special code there and get a little good deal from Dan.
And Dan, what we'll do is get Nigel to talk to you during the week about that other thing, because we've got another interview to do straight after this one.
Yep, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
Yep. I'll send you a message.
But I am going out with a song for you.
Oh, great. Thanks for having me on the show too,
That's
guys.
all right.
I really appreciate it.
Can you guess what the song might be?
Tina Turner's.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Great
You're
stuff.
a genius. Okay,
You're
thanks
all class.
a lot.
I love it.
Okay.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks very much. Bye.
Bye.